that is not appropriate. So the first action that should take place is to research all the necessary documentation that will reveal the significance of the complex or the particular monument before any other step takes place. The research will allow us the information needed to identify the values of the fortifications. Effective interpretation of a heritage site is a result of knowing its significance, allowing with responsibly documenting what values the site represents. Values allow us to be clear about why and who conceived of the structure, its use, its history, the people and the communities that were related to their history, the scenarios, different scenarios of events that happened there, and contributors, and to understand the fortifications as contributors to the sustainable development of communities and among other aspects. Values. In order to understand the significance of fortifications, we must know the values, because those values are the key elements for the interpretation of fortification. But how do we get there? And where are they? This is where we go to the website of Vice Board of ICOMOS, and you go to the guidance on fortifications. You go to the article number 4, and the ICOPORT has identified 8 different values on fortifications and military heritage. The list is long and it will take really a lot of time, but since you have access to them in the internet, I'll let you go through that later as homework assignment. But I do want to briefly mention all of them and later on highlight 3 of them, which I think is the most weak, the one that involves the most weak interpretation today. Fortifications will always have architectural and technical value. They're a specific construction constructed for a specific activity for defense and attack. Not for worship, not for living, not for enjoy a meal. It's for war. They were built for war. They're always going to have a territorial and geographical value. They are located in a specific location for a reason. Normally in a site that they can have complete view and domain of their surroundings, so they can see, they can spot the enemy coming and get ready, be ready for defense. Fortifications always going to have a cultural landscape value. In fortifications, fortresses, city walls, is important not only as the structure, but also what's outside of the structure. What's outside of the structure is part of the fortifications. We cannot separate the location from the structure. Strategic value, like I said, they're always going to be in a strategic point. In a coastal, in a mountain, in a river coastal, in a middle of a valley where they can, if it's a flat lands, there's no mountains or no high side locations, they will be in an area where still they can have time for defense, protection, and defense. Fortifications are always going to have human and anthropological value because they were built by humans, because they were occupied by humans, because they created an effect on humans' life, because they were a scenario of human activities, and because they are sites of memory of humans. So there's always going to be, through their evolution, many centuries, anthropological and human value on them. Fortifications are always going to have memory values of memory, identity, and always gonna have an educational value. They were conceived for an activity, a complex activity of war or conflict. But today, that's over. Today, fortification should be and can be sites of peace. And that always should be the ultimate goal of interpretation. Peace and reconciliation. Fortifications, of course, we're talking about historic fortifications, so therefore they're gonna have a historical value. And fortifications gonna have a social and economical value. Like I mentioned in the beginning, fortifications, they play an important role in sustainable development of communities through long-term tourism development. Sometimes it gets out of hand, that's right, this theme of cultural tourism that are not always exactly cultural. And as a result, enhancing the well-being of the community. Normally, when you're approaching a fortification, what you see in the outside, vendors, you see communities, you see people making a daily life through some activity, economical activity related to the fort. And those three elements of those three values that I wanted to just emphasize a little bit with you, one of them is the cultural landscape. Here's where the formula of 1 by 1 is not 2. Here, 1 by 1 is 1. The structure and the landscape is the same thing, has the same value. Because there is an intrinsic relationship between the components of the interior and the exterior of the fortification. Fortifications are built adapting to the landscape as an outer component. For example, I'm showing you here one of the forts in San Juan, Puerto Rico. This is Fort San Philip of El Morro. Morro means cliff. So this castle is located in a cliff at the entrance of the bay. So the landscape becomes part of the defensive campus or battlefield. Here's the fort, and this is what we call the esplanade. This is the battlefield. So this was designed in order